Greetings, salutations, and all good things in between. What's up, everyone? Matt here. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. I hope you had a good holiday season. You had a good time, all that, get all the good stuff. But hey, it's the new year, right? Time to set some plans. Time to get those New Year's resolutions going and figure out what are we going to do differently this year. I don't know about you, but I've got plans for a ridiculous amount of stuff to happen. Should be a good year. What do we got in plan for today? Well, today I'm going to talk about what I have planned for the future. Not a whole lot in the front of questions and comments. So if you have anything you're working on, there'll be a live chat section at the end. Get your questions into the chat and I'll answer them then. But what I'm really going to go over is some OpenAI integrations. Over the holiday season, I had the opportunity to kind of do a little fun project where I created an app that allowed me to basically role play like a D&D game with an AI, where the AI played 5 characters and I played the GM. I told it what was going on and it told me what the characters were doing. It's a fantastic success. Check out the last live stream. You'll see it over there. There's a companion app that goes along with this where you can actually go and see all of the images and everything that were generated. You can kind of dig through it and find all the fun stuff. Some good stuff over there. But when I did that, it really showed me what was possible. And so I took some of that stuff and I've made it available for my Patreon supporters. I'm going to go over all of that and more. Let's get to it. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I appreciate it. Let's do it. Alright, I recently upgraded my OBS and I'm having some minor issues with all of the stuff that I kind of set up. Not working anymore. You know, oh well, is what it is. So, what have we got going on? Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on this year. So, just to kind of tease at some of the things that I have planned for the future. So when I did that role-playing app, right, what I was really doing there is I was really sussing out what's the hard parts, like what are the limitations, how far can I take this, how much information can I give it, where's the walls, because like eventually I'm gonna hit a wall, right? Okay, so I found all of those and I've started coming up with strategies to get around them and how we can create some really advanced integrations using AI. And so to kick off the year, I've taken the basics of what I did to get that role-playing game work. The script that would allow to get a text generation response, as in I send it something and it gives me something back. I've got that basic script as well as the basic script to create an image. I'm not sure how helpful that one is, but you know, it is kind of fun. So I've got both of those that I've shared. They're already inside an OpenAI folder inside the shared Patreon folder. So if you would like to check that out, head on over there. If you're not a Patreon supporter, you can go to, where's that? Oh, there it is, that guy right there. Patreon.com/MultiTech, $10 a month. This AI stuff is just the cherry on top that I'm starting to add now. There's a boatload of stuff over there that's actually really helpful if you're trying to do like an AppSheet business or whatever. But, so, what can you do with this basic integration? Okay, well, the thing that I shared with you is it's a script that basically, I took care of all the heavy work and made it really easy to get everything done. You just create it. I'm going to go through this later on, I should mention. So stick through to the end or fast forward if you want, whatever, to the point where I'm going to build an app that shows you how this basic integration works. But the idea is this one is just a generic, send it whatever, and it will respond with whatever. In the future, right, I have plans on creating specific script integrations that will have more going on, right? Things like you could just send this thing your product information and it'll give you a nice paragraph describing your product. You could give this thing a document that was given to you and it will pull out all the relevant information. It'll give you the key takeaways. What's the data points that I need to pull out of this? I'm going to make a whole bunch of scripts. And man, I got a list as long as the door back there of all of these things that I want to do. And every time I talk to somebody about it, that list gets longer. So if you're interested and you want to be a part of all of this new AI stuff that I'm going to be doing, head on over to patreon.com. I'm really looking for what do you guys want? Like, what would be a nice add-on that you could have for AppSheet that you could just, run a bot and this bot would shoot some information and then stuff happens and something comes back or whatever. You know what I mean? These are the things that I have planned for the future. And I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So head on over there, check it out. We can get a lot of stuff done. All right, let's move on to the next section, which I don't have a whole bunch of comments and questions. I mean, there's some, but I've answered most of them. It was the holiday season. Everybody was busy. I get it. So, news, right? Let's do that one. All right, so over the holiday season, what happened? Not a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. Okay, there has been significant amounts of progress on the front of the new desktop UX. I don't know if you've been playing with that or checking that out at all, but the newer, that thing is really starting to come together really nice. When they originally released it a few months ago, they made note that there was a laundry list of things that don't work, such as force sync and things like that. So you shouldn't use it for production apps. A lot of these things are starting to be implemented now. I noticed the other day that a force sync actually worked when I had a form save event. The sync actually happened. I was like, okay, cool. All right, we're getting somewhere. So a lot of progress has been made over there. It's really kind of exciting. That desktop experience really makes the desktop experience fantastic. In fact, one of the things that I did to explore the desktop experience is for that live stream for the Friday before Christmas where I did the role-playing thing. I mentioned I have a companion app that allows people to kind of explore all of the stuff that was done during that live stream. That I turned on the new desktop experience, and I gotta say, it's really nice. There were some things that excuse me, as I was fiddling with it, trying to make it look nice and get things to just how I wanted it and whatever, I found there was some little things you could do. There were little tricks that you could do that would help make that desktop look, the big detail view, a little better. And at some point in the future, I'll probably have a live stream where I'll go over a whole bunch of this stuff. But I really liked it. It's starting to come together. Still not quite there, but it's starting to come together. Other than that, there's one other really big thing that I want to talk about. I don't know if you noticed, but Steve made a post in the community talking about how Google didn't renew his contract. So the community is not losing Steve, but Steve is no longer a part of the Google team, which means the insider info that he could have access to, he doesn't have access to. I don't know about many of the other people who had AppSheet contracts that were made back in the day. But I have heard that some of them didn't have their contracts renewed either. So it sounds like we're losing a lot of really good talent that's officially tied to the Google team, the Google AppSheet team. He did mention inside his post that he's not leaving the community. He's still going to be active. It's just he's no longer part of the, he's no longer being paid to do all the Google stuff that he was doing. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, I know. I was really kind of bummed out when I read that one. But hopefully, the mindset that I usually try and maintain is that, every door that's shut is a door that's open. There's that saying. Every make lemons out of lemonade. You know, I'm a very optimistic type of person, and I try and see the good that can come from any of the perceived negatives, such as, well, Steve has a whole bunch more time now to do whatever's on his mind to do. Be interesting to see where that goes, right? So head on over to the community. Let Steve know that you appreciate everything that he does, because I know I wouldn't be here if he hadn't helped me a whole bunch of times through some thick things that I was stuck in. All right, now let's move on to the next section. This is going to be the meat and potatoes that I think most people are going to be here for. Let's make an app. All right. So, all I've been talking about is all this AI stuff and how I have these basic integrations that are available for my patrons. And like, well, how do you use that? What do you do? What can you even like now? You know what I mean? I'm going to go over that right now. So what I plan on doing is I'm going to create an AppSheet app from absolute scratch that's basically going to allow you to do a one-shot prompt to the OpenAI text generation endpoint. Now, what is the OpenAI text generation endpoint? Okay, if you've been paying attention to the technology world in any way, you've probably heard about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a product that is made by OpenAI using the backbone API, the backbone APIs that we have access to. This is a product that they created using their models to do whatever. Okay, we can access the same thing. This script accesses the same thing. The difference is that the ChatGPT thing is a product built around the API endpoint, and so there's more going on there instead of just give me some text. So, you know, there's threads, and it has the ability to keep a context so you can have an ongoing conversation, like all these things that are built into the product that's running with this API endpoint as the backbone. So the script that I have available for my Patreon supporters is an integration with that API backbone. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how you can create a very simple one-shot message thing like this, where you can throw some text at the endpoint and it will give you a response, right? Simple. This is just the initial starting point. I should mention, once you get that going, which you're going to see is deceptively easy. Once you get that going, the hard part becomes what's called prompt engineering. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So what do we need to do first? First, we need to make a database, right? We need to make a place to store all of this stuff. So I have a empty Google Drive folder here, and I'm going to make a new Google Sheet. Starting literally at the absolute scratch, so you can follow along with me from the very beginning. All right, so let's give the sheet a name of one shot prompts. All right. And now I'm not going to use the standard starting template for this. I'm going to keep it very simple so everybody can just literally follow along one for one. So what are the columns that we need for this spreadsheet? Okay, well, I need a prompt, right? I got to have that. I need a place for the response. I need an ID. Might be helpful to have a date time as well, because then I could like order things based on the date time so that the newest ones are always at the top. But to get started with, that's it. Like, we don't need anything else. You can add anything else that you want to this later on. But like, this is what I'm sticking with. So I got my sheet here. It's all ready to go. I have little fiddly bits. You know, I like to make it like this. Okay. So now let's give this a name of one shot OpenAI prompts. Okay. And I'm going to make an app on this. So I'm just going to come up here to extensions. I'm going to go to AppSheet, create an app. I love it. Sometimes this stuff is just so easy. It's just amazing. Gotta love it. Thanks for joining into the chat. I would try and pronounce your name, but I bet you I would horribly butcher it. So I'll call you Sean. Hey, Sean, what's going on, buddy? Sean Makurajan. How'd I do? How'd I do? Terrible? Was that bad? I see your question. Get to it at the end, mate. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. Yeah. All right, so I've got my thing here. Now what do I want to do? All right, so we just need to first go through and set up the columns so that they're the right thing. So the prompt is close. I want this to be a long text. Same thing for the response. The ID is the ID, and it put unique ID. And for the date, it put today inside here already for me. Cool. I'm going to hide the ID, and I'm going to make the prompt the label. And those are the only changes I'm going to make. Yep, there we go. Cool. Now, what do I need to do next? So if I come into the form, we can see what it looks like, right? So I'm going to type this in. It's going to fill this. All right, well, I don't want to show this, and I don't want to show this inside the form when I'm filling it out. So I'm just going to go... Don't show the date in the form, and don't show this if is, or show this if is not blank this. That way, if there is something there, we'll see it. If there's not, you can't see it. Perfect. Cool. So now when I come to this form, yeah, do you see how it, for a split second, there you go. So I come in here and I've got nothing but a prompt. Cool. All right, the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to actually do the actual script integration part. Now, if you're a Patreon supporter of mine, this is actually deceptively easy. The only thing you need to do is when you get to the script part, you just search for OpenAI. You'll find it. It'll pop up right away. Let me show you. So if you go to automation, we make a new bot. So this is going to be generate response, right? So new prompt, right? So on a data change, on adds and updates, on the one-shot prompts where the is not blank, or I'm sorry, not is not blank, but is blank, the response. Yep. So when I add or update anything on the one-shot prompts and the response is blank, this thing's going to kick off. Now, I should mention the reason I did add and updates is because, you know, when you're first working on these things or later on when you're working on them, sometimes the script doesn't kick off. There's an error that's thrown. And so that, you know what I mean, you don't get a response back, and so the response will remain empty. If you leave it on adds and updates with this formula, the is blank response, then I can like go back into the form and save it again, and it'll try and kick it off again. Mind you, I have to update the record in order for that to happen, but we'll get there. Okay, so I've got the trigger. Now, what do we need to do? We need to make a new step, gen response, right? Okay, the thing we want to do is over here, you'll see there's all these options. Call a script is the thing we want to do. And you make sure you select the right table. I only have one, but you'll probably have many. So come here and click on this file selector, and then up here in the search, this is what I'm talking about. Just search for OpenAI, one word, and like, there you go. Now you're going to have you're only going to have a couple of these things. The one that you're going to want to look for is this text response. You'll have to authorize it in order for it to work, which means you'll have to go through oh yeah, here we go. So like even I have to authorize it. So go through here. It's going to say, oh, are you sure you want to do this? This could have, you know, a virus in it and whatever. Yeah. Doesn't have a virus, I promise you. Like, okay, now that it's validated, right? Come down here and you can choose the function that you want to use. All right, well this, if you look down here, I've given you 3 options. The reason, if you look at them, they're all very close to the same thing. So if you start at the top, you'll see there's 2 options, prompt and your API key. So I should mention, in order for this to work, you need to go over to OpenAI, sign up for an account, and get your own API key. People have mentioned that maybe I should offer some way where I manage that, and, you know, I have tiers where you could sign up for so many calls per month or whatever. Maybe in the future I'll set something up for that. But for now, these basic integrations is just, you can manage it for yourself. So all you got to do is go to openai.com, sign up for an account. You get $18 for like as a starting budget, if you will. And the cost for all of these things is at its max 4 cents per call. At its minimum for the model that I'm using, there's other options, and these are things I'll talk about later in future videos. There's other models that are cheaper, that are faster, but for the primary integration, I just use the most powerful model that they had available, and it's either 1 cent or 4 cents, depending on how much data you send to the thing. So go over there, get your API key, and you'll see each of these, you have to feed the API key to it, right? Because that's how it works. So you feed the prompt and your API key for this first one. That's it. The idea is that's the easiest of these scripts that you can use. All you got to do is feed it what you want to send it and your key. That's it, right? The next one down, you'll see, has the inclusion of another argument, parameter, whatever you want to call these, the model. Okay, so like I mentioned, there's a whole bunch of different models that are available over at OpenAI. You can change the model that's being used. The top one, where it's just generate response, that one uses the most powerful model. Okay, so I've just like hard-coded that into the add-on. You can change that if you want. That's what the middle one is for, so that you can select the different model and see what's going on. And the last one is the grand poobah of them all. This is the one where you can select not only the model that you want to use, but also the max number of tokens that should be allowed in the response. This is a deep topic. Tokens are basically what the system uses to conceptualize a word. And roughly speaking, 1 token is 3/4 of a word. So you can think about this, about the idea of, I think the general rule was like 100 tokens is 75 words, something along those lines. And so then you can just add zeros to the end to make it bigger. So the idea is if you wanted to restrict how much space the system has for a response, like I could say, give me a summary of something and then restrict its tokens to 20. Okay, that's like a sentence. You know what I mean? That's like a short sentence, which means the model over there is going to have to try and figure out how to get that into that small space. Versus if I say you've got 500 tokens to work with, it's like, oh, cool, I got all day. See what I mean? So this script, the final script in the list down here gives you the ability to select that token that you want to use. Now, a little fiddly bits, right? Little fiddly bits. The 2 of these are similar. The one at the very bottom is different from the rest. And you'll notice like one is generate response, one is generate a response from model, and this one is generate limited response with stats. Okay. The system also returns the number of tokens that were used for each thing when the call returns. So I send the system some kind of information, it returns a response, and then it also returns how many tokens was the prompt, how many tokens is the response, and how many tokens were used altogether. This way, you can keep track of like, are we approaching that limit? Do I need to make it bigger? Do I need to, right? So this bottom one here returns an array where the first thing is the response, then you have the prompt tokens, the response tokens, and the total number of tokens. Now, all of these are of the text type, so if you want to use these numbers as numbers, you need to convert them to a number using the number formula. You just wrap it in number, and it's done. But the script in the AppSheet, it won't accept an array that has multiple different types. So I couldn't have like a long text and then number. That it didn't work, it kicked back an error. So I had to convert the numbers to text, and then when you get it, then you can convert the text back to a number. I know, it's kind of weird, but whatever. You only have to worry about that on the bottom script. That's the only one that returns an array. An array is just a list. That's just another word for list, right? The bottom one returns a list of stuff, right? The response, the prompt tokens, the response tokens, and the total number of tokens. The first 2 simply return text. They just give you the response. That's it. Those are the ones that I made that were like, okay, I need something that's far easier. And like this first one up here where it's like you feed it your API key and the prompt that you want, and it gives you a response. Like that's the easiest one of them all. I should mention that one has 500 tokens of space. So there's plenty of space inside there for this thing to generate a paragraph or two, right? All right, so let's continue. Now that I got a little preamble there, and I should mention I'm in the process of making videos and documentation about how to actually use these that'll have a little more nuance. So stay tuned. So if we go here, I'm just going to do the very simple one here at the very top, generate response. Okay, so now I need to go get an API key. And so since I'm live streaming, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bother about stick with it here. I'm not going to bother with hiding this key. I'm just going to expire it as soon as I'm done with the video. So there you go. There's a key you could use for a couple of seconds. while I'm still live streaming. That key will just work if you can go back and get it. Hey. All right. So there's that. So I got my key inside here, and then all right, the prompt. So this is the meat and potatoes. This is the part where all of the actual hard work needs to go down. So this is the thing that you're sending to the AI saying, generate some text. Okay, but like there are no instructions included with this thing at all. That's what I mean by this is a basic integration. Like it's raw. There's nothing that it does here. It doesn't even have instructions like generate an answer. Like it doesn't even have that. If you want it to do something like that, that is what you have to include inside your prompt. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to do, let's just say, I'm not even going to put anything around it. I'm just going to leave the prompt as it is. So in the prompt, I'm just going to feed this my prompt. Now, like I was saying, in the future, you're probably going to want to come in here and like wrap this into a concatenate where maybe you have some kind of instructions telling the system, you know, the following information is an email from a client, and then insert the prompt thing, and then like do another thing where you have a couple of line breaks, and then be like, generate a response that I could send in an email that's professional sounding, that blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like I would wrap the stuff with some instructions telling the system what I want it to do. And you can do things like generate a paragraph, give me 2 paragraphs, give me 4 paragraphs, give me 400 words. Like you can do that and it tries to get within the range. But for now, I'll just leave the prompt as it is. And so this is how you basically set that up right here, right? You've got your prompt is the prompt, your API key is your API key, and you're done. Come down here, you'll see there's a return value. Turn that on. The return value is a string, and the specific type is a long text. I don't know if it matters if it's text or long text. I think they're largely interchangeable, but I've built things with the intention of long text, so just do that. Now, here's the good part. If you look down here in this little blue section, use the output of this function by using this little square bracket thing that they put there. Notice that that square bracket thing is basically a dereference, right? We're saying that previous task dot output, all right? So all we got to do is copy that little formula down here. Copy that. And then come over here and make a new step. Record response. This one is a data change. So run a data action. And the thing we want to do is you come over here, set the values. That was already selected. And not the prompt. I want to do the response. And then in here, just paste that. And you're done. And with that, this is now going to generate a response when I send this thing a prompt. So let's try it, shall we? Let's see if it works. Let's see. What sort of things? What is the AppSheet platform good for? Let's just see. Does this thing give me a response? All right. Now you see how long this is taking, right? You see how it didn't like immediately save? That's a good sign. That usually means that what's happening there is stuff's actually going on. Hey, look, we got a response. AppSheet is a cloud-based platform, is a cloud-based platform that enables businesses of any size to quickly create custom mobile and web applications that leverage their existing data while also reducing the complexity and cost of developing traditional apps. The AppSheet platform is good for creating applications quickly and efficiently with no coding required. It is a great solution for businesses that are looking for a way to quickly create applications to make use of their existing data and business processes. With AppSheet, businesses can design and build apps with increased flexibility and scalability while requiring minimal IT infrastructure. Hey, look at that. We just got a response from an AI. Booyah. Yeah. Okay, so that's how this thing works. You saw how easy that was. Literally, you just go in there, add the script, throw your prompt in there, get a key inside there, tell it that you have an output, throw the output inside your column, and you're done. Happy days. Yep, happy days. This is the first of many. This is the absolute raw, doesn't do anything, doesn't have context. It doesn't work like ChatGPT where I can like keep going on a conversation. It doesn't do that. This is just a simple throw something at it and it'll give you a response. Next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this app and I'm going to progress it again and I'm going to add in a contextual tracking system, meaning I'll be able to come inside here and instead of just doing this little one and done, right? I'm going to create a way to where I can have a conversation, kind of like what's going on with ChatGPT, where there's some back and forth and it remembers what was going on. I'll show you how you can create an AppSheet app to do that. Now, it doesn't work like ChatGPT. You know, it's not like a fast, you know what I mean? You still got to save the record, wait for the script, and like, you know what I mean? Like, you still got to do that. But it's the start. The start of something big, right? Hey. Yeah, that's all I got for this. Let's move on to the questions. All right. Welcome all. Thanks for joining in the chat. Thanks for your questions. Let's just start here at the top. I need to figure out a way to get this chat thing inside, like, right here so y'all can see it. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to get that working one time, but, like, I just keep struggling with this. There's some technical fiddly bits that I just can't seem to figure out. Moving on. All right. First question. From Sean, thanks for the pronunciation. I'm not even going to try again. Sean asks, how to export general data into a PDF, like a list of transactions, not in terms of from a date to a date. Okay, like a list of transactions. Fair enough. Yeah. I actually have some videos that show how to do this. If you look for report, there's, I think, 2, maybe 3. I can't remember. I think there's 2 officially. There's like a third one out there that I haven't really edited or done anything with that I kind of need to hop on. But, you know, goals. I have some videos that show how to do this and some corresponding sample apps. And the idea is I really rely on the AppSheet platform to do a lot of this. What you can do is... okay, so if we're trying to create like a list of the transactions, the first thing that's really helpful to do is to have that list of transactions somewhere. And so like if we're talking about like, all right, maybe I have a client and I want to see what are all of the transactions for this client, period. Okay, well, in my AppSheet database, right, in my AppSheet app, I have a client table and I should have a transactions table. And the transaction should be reference connected to the clients, which means when I look at the client, I have a list of all of their transactions. Okay. When you have that sort of setup like that sort of thing going on, that's where it becomes really easy because you can rely on AppSheet to do a lot of the heavy lifting of making the PDF template file and like all the stuff that you need to make that kind of like start working. They'll do it for you. Just go over to, like here, if I just show you over here. So like if you go to automation and you come in here and you make a new bot, right? For whatever. the thing that what you would want to do is you'd want to do this on like I usually try and trigger my workflows using a manual trigger. Part of the standard starting template is an automation trigger column, and the purpose of that is literally so that I can just drop a keyword into the column, and then I have like this bot is watching that column for that keyword, and so when it sees it, it's like, oh, I need to run, and it starts running. So like I would do that, and then I would be like, something equals send email or something like this, you know what I mean? So that this is the thing that's going to kick off. And then the first thing that I would do is I would clear the trigger, which would be a data task where I would say, whatever column that I was setting that trigger into, we're going to clear that, right? And then the next thing that you do is like gen file. And this is the one this is what I'm talking about. Like you can rely on AppSheet to do all the heavy work. Come over here and there's the option, create a file. If you click this and you select the right table and you tell it I want it to make a PDF, right? There's this create button right here. If you click that, what's going to do is it's going to make a file that will be a template for the table that you're dealing with. Now, if my table was the client table and the clients had a list of related transactions, right? Okay, when the system is making this template like this, it's going to automatically create an inline table for me for the related transactions. The columns that are shown inside that probably aren't going to be the ones that I want to see. I'll need to change those. But that's not the point. The point is all of that sort of like heavy lifting of like, well, I need to insert the table, I need to get a start statement, I need to make sure the end statement's in that. Like, you don't have to do any of that. This thing will do it for you. So you just head here, tell it you want to create a PDF, and click the create button. The key to getting the list thing in there is that you've got to do it on a table that has the related whatevers already on it. And if you have multiples of those, like if I've got related transactions and related payments and related projects, when I click this create button, it's going to create an inline table for all of those. So maybe I delete some of those tables out, or maybe I'm happy, like, oh yeah, cool, awesome, I didn't even think I was going to do that, and you could throw that in there too. Anyways, there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of fiddly bits in order to get this work. I've got some videos that you can watch that'll walk you through how to kind of get through some of those ones and twos. Hope it helps. For just simply exporting into that's how you do it. Yep. Andrea Sengali, hello, greetings and salutations, and all good things in between. I have to make a button on the parent table. When pressed, I just have to update a single column, the child. Is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. I have some sample apps that literally show exactly how to do this. I think there's some corresponding videos for those as well. If you go to the community and you search for the quick update system, that's the thing that that's going to walk you through what you want to do. So like quick update system. This is a post that I made a long time ago that walks through how to set up a system where I can push a button and it will update the apps. The quick update system is like the core of what to do, and then later on, further down the post, there's a lot of really good discussion about how can I configure this so that it doesn't run in this case, or how can I get it to where if I'm on the child, I need to update the parent. Like, there's a lot of nuance that's been sussed out inside the comments in the discussion inside that thread. So I always throw people over to that because it's a really good resource. So you would do that. And Vast CNC, I'm coming from Microsoft to AppSheets in my familiarity. Fair enough. Welcome to you. I'm curious what you're using for your data source. Are you going to stick with you're welcome, Andrea. Are you gonna Vast CNC? Are you planning on sticking with using like a Microsoft SharePoint for your data source, where I'm gonna have like an Excel file and then we could use that as the AppSheet database, or are you going Google all the way? Gonna start using Google Sheets for your database? There's some important differences to know between those two things. Is there some capability to white label and sell an AppSheet solution? I'm working on some niche ERP solutions. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me this question, like, is there a way that I could sell my app in the Play Store or something like this? And I've really yet to see anybody really succeed at that. There's plenty of people who have white labeled an app and then they put that into the Play Store. But I've yet to now that could just be because I'm not looking for it. They're not telling me about it. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of exposure. But I've yet to see anybody like really like, holy crap, they made a ton of money on this. Because there's some nuance with the AppSheet platform. Like the problem with a white label app is that you got to think about it like it's a snapshot of your app. The real benefit of AppSheet is the fact that I can rapidly iterate on this thing. I can go in and boom, 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 and we just got a ton of new functionality inside the app in like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And everybody that's using it has that functionality now. Okay, the problem with a white label is that the white label app is like a snapshot. And so any of the updates that you made, they're not inside this white labeled app. And depending on the updates that you make, it might break. Like if I change the column structure, well then this is old and it's not updated, which means I got to go through the whole process again of getting the white labeled app, putting it into the store, getting it approved. I largely just generally advise people, don't bother. Like that app store thing, and like the Play Store is the easier of the two. Getting it into iTunes is a royal nightmare. Don't even bother. Like I've yet to see, like, yes, there's some, you know, trust that's inferred because my app is inside the Play Store or in iTunes. Yeah. But I don't know. It just seems more bother than it's worth for me. I advise people just give people the URL to the app. You know what I mean? Unless you need access to like the near field communication sensor or the camera on the device. You know what I mean? Like unless I need access to the sensors and like device stuff, if I'm just doing data things, you know, open the form, type some stuff, save it, push some buttons, like that's all that's happening, do that in a web browser. Like you can just send people to the URL, done. No problems. They don't have to install anything. There's no trust problems. It's literally just a website that they go to. Done. And it functions 100% like the regular app, provided you don't need to use, you know, the device sensors. So those are the things that I generally advise people for, like the white label thing. There's nothing that says that you couldn't create a website that was basically a platform where you charge people access to your AppSheet app, right? It's a secure app. You've got multi-tenancy built into it. It's running with a giant database, a giant SQL server so that it can grow to an infinite size and you can manage all of this and you can do blah, 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 right? Like you can do all of that. Then you could charge people for access to that. And like now your AppSheet app is basically a platform. This is actually something that I've seen dozens of people do. This is it, and actually I'm starting to believe that this is kind of the standard AppSheet journey for, like, this is one of the standard AppSheet journeys that people can follow. They create a solution, they quit their job, then they start a business doing the solution that they made. Like dozens of people have done that and they are thriving, buying property. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're buying property. That's a good sign. Let's see. So VastCNC responded back with, I would be starting from scratch with Google, trying to be a platform agnostic and less tied to Microsoft with Windows. A lot to be, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, web-based platforms, the absolute way to go, VastCNC. And if you're sticking with Google as your data source, that's definitely something that I advise for people to do, because the biggest difficulty that I have, which I consider a problem, and it's like a hard wall for me. I see this and I'm like, yeah, I can't use that. The problem is that if I have an Excel file shared in a one cloud or in a SharePoint somewhere, if somebody opens that file like in the cloud, nobody can use it. Like if somebody's like, oh crap, we messed up on whatever, and so then they open up the Excel file, in OneDrive or whatever, so that they can quickly do whatever. Okay, while that's open, the app can't access the file. Nobody else can, actually. And so anybody that's trying to use the app, nothing but failures the whole time. And like, to me, that's a problem. Google doesn't have that problem. I mean, with a Google Sheet, any number of people can be inside the sheet modifying it at once, and like you can see everybody's modifications. So that's what leads me to like to always gear people towards, you should use a Google Sheet. You could get so far using Google Sheets. It's quite ridiculous, to be honest. Like, you can get really far using Google Sheets, depending on how you want to manage that. And eventually you'll want to move some of the bigger tables into a SQL server, because, you get 50, 60, 70,000 records. You're going to start managing that in some way. You don't want that in a Google Sheet. Yeah, man. Excited to see where everybody, all these ideas that everybody has. AppSheet is definitely one of those platforms that's like, man, revolutionary, right? But yet, surprisingly, it's still a very small part of the market. Like, it's still a very, very, very not developed, but underutilized resource on the internet. It really is. It's actually quite shocking how small AppSheet's known out there. It's getting there because Google's pouring tons of money into it, but still got a ways to go. Excited for the future, though. Cool. All right, that looks like that's all the questions that we got there. Fair enough. Let's go over here. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me this week. I appreciate it. If you like what I do and you would like to support, head on over to patreon.com. Like I said, it's $10 a month. There's a boatload of really good resources over there. If you look on my Patreon page, I actually did a summary of the things. I think I made a video for that. I can't remember. It was a couple months ago. Anyways, go head on over there and check it out. I appreciate all of the support that all you guys give me. And without my supporters like this, I wouldn't have the time, I wouldn't have the space in my life to be able to work on these sorts of projects and get all of this good quality content out there and share everything for people. So really, I appreciate it. I really do. All right, that's all I got for you this time, everybody. And remember, when you're working on your AppSheet app and you run into a wall, say it with me. Keep calm and AppSheet on! See you in the community, everybody. Cheers.